Hola, en esta cápsula practicaremos la pronunciación de la lectura de la página 38, 39 y 40. Empecemos. Something from another world. The alleged arrival of Martians to our planet was a fever that included legends, movies, news, and much more. In that context, on October 30, 1938, a young man named George Orson Welles narrated a kind of fake news radio broadcast about the supposed arrival of extraterrestrials to the United States. However, he made it so real that it terrorized thousands of citizens who believed the broadcast was true. Orson Welles said through the microphone, "Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our dance music program to bring you a breaking news story from the Intercontinental Radio Agency. Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory in Chicago reports observing on the planet Mars several explosions moving towards the Earth with enormous speed. We will continue informing." Wells, who would later become a famous actor, director, writer, and movie producer, commented that an astronomer had seen a glowing blue light coming out of Mars. This paved the way for the adaptation of a script based on the book The War of the Worlds by English writer Herbert George Wells. First published in 1998, which described a Martian invasion on Earth into a radio format, transforming it to create a believable story and transmitting it with his company Mercury Theater and his program On the Earth, broadcasted by CBS station. In fact, the introduction of the program explained it was a dramatization based on the novel by Wells, but listeners did not pay much attention and thought that a Martian invasion was taking place. Orson Welles continued to talk into the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have grave news to announce. As incredible as it seems, both scientific and observations and the most palpable reality compel us to believe that the strange beings who have landed tonight in a rural zone of Jersey are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. It is believed that 12 million people were listening to the radio transmission, and several thousand panicked and left their homes, collapsing the roads and police stations. Emergency lines didn't stop ringing due to the immense quantity of people calling in afraid and saying they had seen the Martians. The transmission went on for 59 minutes and ended with the death of Orson Welles himself, who played the role of Professor Richard Pearson, caused by toxic gases launched by the invaders. The inhabitants of Grover's Mills fired their weapons at the city's water tank, convinced it had become a huge Martian war machine. A woman accused Wells and his team of causing her a panic attack, while a man received compensation from Wells for a pair of shoes he claimed to have given up to buy a train ticket to flee the alien invasion. Hospitals received calls from people willing to donate blood to help, showing the extent of the mass hysteria. Contrary to what some people thought, this polemic transmission was not the end of Wells' career, but the beginning of a legend that pushed him to lifelong stardom. On October 31st, newspapers announced the radio transmission on the front page, along with more than 12,000 articles published in newspapers throughout the country for several days. Orson Welles was immediately hired by RKO Pictures to make his first movie, Citizen Kane. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye. Espero que esta cápsula te haya servido para practicar tu pronunciación. See you next time.